It's me, obviously, PCPatientZero, here to answer your questions and to tell you what play we are going to be discussing next. Hamlet or Midsummer Night's Dream. You voted. You're gonna find out the results today, right here, in a very short amount of time. But first, I'm going to answer the questions that were asked to me because, if you want to find out what play we're doing next, have to listen through my question answering. And jump cut. Man, I love that. I don't know why people don't just do everything via jump cut, because it's so much easier. Alright, I've got questions from some people here. Thank you very much to the people who asked me questions, and they're pretty, interesting and insightful questions. I mean, some of them are silly, what is your favorite/least favorite ice cream flavor? Well, let me tell you, Liz. My favorite ice cream flavor, actually there are probably two, is Play-Doh, which is Blue Moon ice cream with little colored cookie pieces in it, or Superman, which is 3 flavors of ice cream, and all I can remember is the blue raspberry one, but it's really tasty. And both of these are flavors that you cannot just buy in cartons in the stores, at least not by us, which is really frustrating because then I have to go to an ice cream shop to get some, and the only ice cream shop that I found them at is in the next town over, so that's a little annoying. But those are my 2 favorite ice cream flavors. My least favorite ice cream flavor, anything with nuts in it, because I'm allergic to nuts. But not peanuts, because those are a legume. Random knowledge. Liz also asks, if you could relive one day from your life over, which would you choose and why? I don't know. I would probably like to relive a couple of days. They were pretty awesome. It was a really cool day. I used to have a horse named Inigo, and he was the horse that I had before I had my current horse. His name is October. But Inigo was a really, really, really great horse, and he got West Nile virus and got really, really sick, and we thought he was going to die, but then for a little while he recovered, and in between that recovery time we had some really great days together, and I would probably relive one of those if I could. Unfortunately, the West Nile virus, I think, caused some permanent damage to him, and he eventually did backslide. I wasn't able to ride him anymore, although we did live for several years after that. But yeah, in answer to your question, I guess I'd probably relive one of those days, because that's still one of the days that when I want a fond memory, I look back and I see that. I love you, Inigo. You're my baby. If you could get everyone to watch just one of your videos, which one would you choose? The one I'm most proud of at the moment is my most recent one, which is the movie cliches one, because I tried a bunch of new stuff and really had fun with it. But I keep making new videos that I'm more proud of, so that may change. Whatever video I'm the most proud of is the one that I want everyone to see at the moment. On my other channel on YouTube, I do music videos, and the one that I would want them to see again is the one that I'm the most proud of at any given time. It's go watch that. That one is good. I like that one. Tim asks, why young adult fantasy and fiction? Why not adult? Well, Tim, I have given a great deal of consideration to your question, and I've thought about it a lot with myself. Obviously, I really love, as I said in my writing video, I love young adult fiction. I write young adult fiction. I read young adult fiction. It's my favorite genre. Why young adults and not adults? One of the big answers that's quite simple is I have dyslexia, and it is young adult books are often printed with larger print. I find it difficult to read adult books because the print is so small. But why don't I just get large print versions of those? Well, I have found that I really just like the tone, the pacing, and the characters a lot more in young adult fiction. The tone tends to have a much more of a focus on the characters and the intensity of their emotions. The pacing tends to be quicker. I have a very low tolerance for filler. In fact, almost zero tolerance for filler. I hate it so much. I mean, I know there is good filler, but I hate it. It annoys the crap out of me. I love the Harry Potter books, which are young adult, but they have too much filler, and there are some that I don't read because they have too much filler. Sorry. So less filler, that's one of the reasons that I like young adult books. They are not as long because they have less filler, so you can read them more of them more quickly. Also, I tend to relate better still to young adult characters. They seem to, one of their big struggles is like identity and self-worth, and those are still things that I struggle with even though I'm an adult. And they have they're allowed to feel emotions very intensely because they are young. And so I still gravitate towards those intense emotions versus like adult stuff tends to be a little bit less about that. So I think those are my reasons for liking to read young adult, and I like to write young adult because I think I have a lot of friends who are young adults. And I also have a lot of younger siblings, and so I write for them what I wish that I had been able to read when I was a kid. I write the books that I want to read. I write the books that I hope they want to read. So, Tim, I hope that answers your question, why I prefer young adult versus adult books. Tim also asks if you could play any musical instrument, what would you play? That's a tough one, but I have always loved the cello. Not gonna lie, I like the idea of an instrument that I could like sleep inside if I had to. It's just I don't play any musical instruments. I can sing, sort of, when I'm in the right mood, but I don't play any musical instruments. What is your favorite band? That's a tough one because I like a lot of different music and I don't really focus on a band in particular most of the time. But I really love Nightwish, and if you haven't checked them out, go check them out. They're sort of a Celtic rock meets like heavy metal almost, kind of, sort of twisty, windy. Go listen to Nemo, Amaranth, and The Last of the Wilds. Check them out. Why haven't you watched Game of Thrones yet? Asks Tim. Well, there is a very I've thought about that and why I haven't been thrilled by Game of Thrones. My husband was watching it and I saw parts of some episodes, and I think it's just because everyone is really excited about Game of Thrones because up until recently, fantasy was not very popular. Like, you didn't see any fantasy TV shows, and now there are quite a few. Before Lord of the Rings movies came out, fantasy movies were small and low budget slightly low budget and just not widely popular. So Game of Thrones is like bringing that whole fantasy, swords, fighting, I don't know why I'm like petting the camera, bringing that into the forefront again. But since I have always loved fantasy, I always loved that genre and always watched even the low budgets, you know, the less recognized stuff. Like Willow is one of my favorite movies and it was not very well recognized. It feels like more of the same. Like, it's not a big exciting thing for me like it is for a lot of people. It's just like, oh, another fantasy thing, okay. I've seen so much of it and I read so much of it that it's just not a thing that I'm really excited about getting into. I might get into it someday, but it's not drawing me in as much as it's drawing in a lot of other people. And Lovecraft, like or dislike? I love Lovecraft's ideas and his worlds and his monsters and all of that are just amazing. I haven't read too many of his works yet. Honestly, because of laziness, mostly, because I mean to. I've got the book, a giant ass book that's got like most of his stories in it, which I mean to read, but I just haven't yet. But I love his ideas so much, they're so cool. Monsters have mouths open like this! PC Sergeant L has some Shakespeare questions, which he gave to me at the last minute, so I'm gonna see if I can answer them without like doing any research or anything. So this is why this is Ask PCPatientZero and not Ask PCPatientZero, who has done a bunch of research and knows all the answers. What play do you think has the most modern day relevance and why? Well, the play you see most often is Romeo and Juliet. I hate Romeo and Juliet, and when we do it, I definitely plan on reading it with you guys. You're gonna see that coming out a little bit, but sadly, Romeo and Juliet seems to have the most influence, probably. Maybe Hamlet as well, because everybody knows Hamlet, but like, for love stories, and love stories are everywhere, Romeo and Juliet just has like the biggest fan base the biggest pool of knowledge about it. Although most people don't understand that they were both children who fell in love in like 3 days and then killed themselves at the end. Functional. But yeah, that's the one I think has the most, I guess, relevance, you could say, today. I don't know if that's really what the answer you were looking for, but that's what I've got on short notice. PC Sergeant L, sorry. If Shakespeare was writing plays today, how would they be different? The only big difference would be the language that they're written in. I don't know if you've noticed, but Shakespeare's language is kind of hard to read for some people. But otherwise, all of the same themes would be there. Violence, sex, fighting, war, death, life, love, all of those themes that we just kind of steal from Shakespeare now, they would still be there, except for people would just be talking in modern language. Little tidbit of information that you didn't know, Shakespeare was writing, you know that the way he writes we think is just so confusing and difficult to read, and we're like, oh, only the royalty must have talked like that. Actually, no, the peasants talk like that. Shakespeare wrote for the peasants, and that is how people literally talked. And so, and the royalty talked more like we do, and the peasants talk more like Shakespeare's plays, so yeah, bet you didn't know that. Bam. And Alyssa asks, what do you think are some common mistakes that vlogs and vloggers make? Well, Alyssa, I consider myself still very new to the whole vlogging scene because I'm constantly learning stuff. Some big mistakes that I make and I am still making probably are long pauses. That was a joke. These are the jokes. One mistake that I try really hard not to make is I believe that if you're going to put something out there for the world to see, it should add to the world, however marginally. So if you just want to vlog so people will see you and notice you and like be like, oh, look how pretty they are, and look, they like Pokemon just like I do, and those kind of vlogs drive me crazy, and they get so many views, but they're not really adding anything to the world except for giving someone they find physically attractive to look at. I'm talking mostly about women vloggers here. A lot of times, and I know there are some that are amazing and aren't doing this, but a lot of times you see girl vloggers, they have so many views just because they're attractive and guys just want to know about them and their life. And that bothers me a lot, because I feel like if you're gonna be sort of on TV for the modern age, you should add something to the world. You should talk about something, or, you know, anything really, anything that adds, anything that gets discussion going, anything that makes people think even a little bit, then it's okay with me. But you gotta add something to the world. Alyssa also asked, what are your writing tools? Certain pens, certain references you often use, etc., etc. Well, Alyssa, I never write, my laptop fell asleep, I never write on paper really anymore, and that's mostly because my hand is not fast enough to keep up with my brain. My brain spews the story out at about Mach 5, and if I'm not typing it, I can't keep up with it, and it drives me crazy. I have to be typing it. I can't just write it freehand because my brain goes too fast. It's like ah. That was my illustration of what my brain is like. It was very exciting the day that I was finally able to type as fast as I thought. Because now, finally, it was a couple of years ago actually, but finally I'm able to keep up with my brain when I type, and that is so nice to finally be able to do that. Certain references, I used Wikipedia a lot when I was writing my demon book. I would be like, I need another demon. Wikipedia, tell me of the demons. Ooh, that one's interesting, putting it in the story. What kind of books do you read and what kind do you not? How many do you read in a year? Well, you know I like young adult fiction. The kind that I don't read is I don't really like nonfiction. I will read it sometimes, if it really interests me, but like, I will be the first to admit that I am an escapist. I am not quite pleased with this world, and so I would much rather go to a made-up one. Not necessarily fantasy, because I love, one of my favorite young adult fictions is Speak, which is awesome, which talks about real world things, but it's fiction, and so, yeah, that is my genre. Real world, you are boring, real world. Do you agree that writers should also read bad books to expand their knowledge? And if so, what are some bad ones you've made a point of reading? I believe that authors should read. That other writers should definitely read, and read everything that you want to or are interested can get a hold of. Honestly though, I don't think that you should read bad books. And be critical of those good books. But when I'm reading a book that I feel is good, I'm still very critical of that book and look at what the author's doing and what they're trying to get across. And so, like, read critically. If you are a writer, you have to read critically and decide what you like, what you don't like about other people's work. But I don't believe in reading bad books. Sorry. It just doesn't seem like it's worth my time. I can figure out what I like and I don't like and I want to do and I don't want to do by reading good books. So no, Alyssa, I don't think that you should read bad books to expand your knowledge, because I don't think it really does. But that's just me, that's just my opinion. Just put away the crosses and pitchforks, because if you disagree, that's completely fine. Alyssa asks, what are a few of your unpopular opinions and a few of the popular opinions you share with people and might not be so proud to admit to? That's a tough one, because like a lot of my opinions may be unpopular with the population as a whole, but they're popular with my group of friends, so I don't really worry about it. So I don't really know what I think that's popular or unpopular. Unpopular, I suppose I have extremely low faith in the public school system. A lot of people don't. But mine is to the point where I feel like it is cruel and unusual punishment. I guess I can't really speak to it completely because I did not go to public school. So this is just all in my brain, so don't hate me forever. Please, try not to. But you asked the question, so you're going to get the answer. Public school, especially high school, I find to be a prison-like environment to which we send our children. Bad idea. Kids become so focused on the life of that place and the life of those people around them, and it is not natural, and it's not good, and it's not... Somebody is calling my phone. What the fuck? I'm 90% sure that was a telemarketer, and they can fuck off. But unfortunately, they probably stopped me on my rant, and I won't continue to rant about it because I'm probably hemorrhaging viewers as we speak. Something that I agree with people that I might not be so proud to admit? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Great answer, isn't it? I have no idea an opinion that I agree with other people that I might not be so proud to admit. I can't think of one. I probably will. As soon as I'm done editing this video, I'll be like, damn it! Oh, that would have been so good. And movies I saw in the past year and recommend. I don't go see too many movies because they're expensive. I loved Cabin in the Woods because I love horror movies and I love Joss Whedon. I love The Avengers because I love superhero movies and I love Joss Whedon. I enjoyed Rise of the Guardians, which I went to go see with you, Alyssa. That was fun. What else did I see? I liked Prometheus. I'm a fan of the Alien series, and I wish they would have explored more of some of the ideas that they touched on, but didn't really explore, because they had a great opportunity to explore a lot more stuff, especially with the android character. And they didn't, and I was disappointed in that, but I still liked Prometheus. Yeah, those are the movies that I liked and would probably recommend, especially if you like Joss Whedon. Okay guys, here we go. In this envelope, I hold the name of the next play that we are going to talk about. Drumroll please, me. Are you excited? What? I seem to have trolled myself. Again. Wait. Viewer, what is that behind your ear? Why, it's Hamlet! That's right, you voted. Hamlet won. So the next play we will be looking at is Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark. One of Shakespeare's most famous tragedies. Yay! Yay! Okay guys, this marks the end of this video. Are you excited? I'm excited for Hamlet. That's gonna be awesome. And thanks to everyone who asked me questions. It really helps, and I hope to do another question video in the future and maybe have a few more people. I had a few people who were awesome and gave me a lot of questions, but I'd like to have more people with fewer questions? I don't know. Does that make sense? Tell your friends and tell them to watch Hamlet coming up.